Hello, everybody. My name is Jerome. I'm one of the founders of PricingUp. I'm going to be hosting this webinar today. With me, I have my partner and our CPO, Guillaume Tujag.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Guillaume.
Hi, everyone.
So guys, we gotta wait like 30 seconds or so before we start this great webinar on how can I optimize my pricing leveraging the price customer price sensitivity, aka elasticity. So this is a hot topic. It's a complex topic. So today we're gonna try to explain you what are the different approaches, how we can action the price sensitivity, and what are the pitfalls not to fall in when you're measuring price sensitivity. This is the topic. So bear with us like 30 seconds. We'll wait for a couple more people to join, and then we'll start the session, right? Okay, well, it's a number of attendees are pretty stable, so let's start. Hi again, welcome to this webinar. So as I said earlier, the topic is how can I optimize my pricing leverage customer price sensitivity? So when we speak about customer price sensitivity, from an economic standpoint, we think about price elasticity, right? And at PricingUp, our experience shows that 80% of the retailer, when they optimize their prices, they are focusing on competition. They look at adjusting their price versus a competitive move, and they don't really put the customer at the center of the price optimization. So at PricingUp, we're much more focused on putting the customer at the center of the price optimization. We do that by understanding and measuring price sensitivity, like elasticity. And today's webinar, we're gonna have three focus. First, try to understand what are the benefits of leveraging price elasticity in price optimization. Overcome and understand the challenges of measuring the price elasticity. The theory is simple, but the way you do it and the methodology is quite complex and very tricky. So we'll speak about the tricks on the measurement side. And the third objective is to demonstrate how actionable it is, given different operational constraints. So you have different ways to use this price elasticity, and it's a very actionable and very effective way to optimize the prices. So this is the first goal we're gonna have today. It is a 30-minute webinar followed by a 15-minute Q&A session. Okay, so feel free to ask all your questions in the question part on the right of your screen. You can upvote the questions, so we will do during the 15 minutes Q&A session. We will prioritize the questions we answer based on the vote. Okay, so and then we obviously can follow up after the webinar. And also I will launch some poll questions, right? So launching poll questions, meaning there is little polls on the right, you can answer and I will comment them. Very good. That being said, let's start. So quick introduction about PricingUp, what we do. So we are a SaaS service company, and we bring our pricing expertise and the technology to help retailers protect their margins and optimize their prices by putting the customer at the center of pricing decision, right? This is really a mission statement. Our goal is to share our pricing expertise, give access to this pricing expertise via a very simple SaaS solution to use. You don't have to be a pricing expert to use a solution and to optimize your price. And our goal also is to start and use pricing to optimize and manage your P&L. Okay, so pricing is a tool to optimize your P&L, and this is what we tend to do via application. We work for larger European customers, like usually the market leaders of their vertical, whether they are e-commerce players or omni-channel companies that have physical stores. We work for one of the largest retailer in France and Europe that has stores both in France, obviously 300 stores in France, 300 less than that in Spain and Portugal, for example. We focus on using machine learning as a way to automatize and help you make better decisions. and we are super ROI driven. Our goal in life is to deliver value to the company, to your company, to our clients, and we do that constantly measuring the incremental benefit of our actions and pricing actions. As I said, Guillaume is with us today. So Guillaume, I will channel the questions. The first question, Guillaume, for you today is like, what are the four main pricing strategies, and a quick pros and cons of each pricing strategy, just as an overview to frame the discussion today.
Yes, sure. Yes, we like to, let's say, categorize the different approach into 4 different ones. The most basic approach, and which is the most historic one to define price, is what can be called cost-based. Okay, so this consists in defining on a per unit basis what is the margin in absolute or in percentage that you are looking after, and then the price is going to be the outcome. This is the most historic, as well as the less impactful in terms of business performance. Why? Because this is the one that is the less driven by the end consumer behavior. So it's a pure company-centric and not an end consumer-centric approach within this strategy. The second one that we believe is the most common within the retail industry in Europe is what we call rule-based pricing. Rule-based pricing consists basically in leveraging the business knowledge transformed into business rules, where the logic would be, if my price is at this level versus this reference, and this reference can be of different type, such as competition, such as break-even price, such as provider recommended price, etc., then I want my price to be adjusted up or down by X euros, X%. So this rule-based pricing is let's say, a bit more impactful, because we start to take care about the end consumer, but still we are very far from leveraging the price elasticity of the end consumer, and thus it is still not the most optimal one. The big benefits of this strategy is to look after optimizing the efficiency and the control, meaning that you definitely have the capability to know what will be the price, your pricing outcome, because it will follow your specific business rules. The third strategy is the one that we call value-based pricing. This is pretty famous within the big manufacturers or big companies, big brands like IKEA, Louis Vuitton, Apple, this type of companies. Here it consists in having different, let's say, studies evaluating what is the incremental value that your product offer is delivering versus the alternative. Alternative being competition, or being not at all not buying the product. And once you define the value, you then decide how much of this value do you want to share with the customer, and which one do you want to keep for you as a margin, and this defines your price. This value-based pricing is not really eligible to retail industry usually. There is not a lot of players going to there. Why? Because the incremental value within the retail is usually not big enough to go for this type of strategy. Again, I'm making a macro conclusion, but of course there are some specific cases. The fourth one, which is, let's say, the DNA of our approach, which is what we call target-based pricing, consists in being very, very customer-centric and consumer-centric, by focusing on the price sensitivity of the end user. Here, the idea is to say, let's collect what are the business objectives. By business objectives, we mean what are the business KPIs that you are willing to maximize, what are the business KPIs that you are willing to protect, what are the operational constraints that you must respect in terms of dynamism, in terms of price differentiation, etc. Once we know these objectives and these constraints, let's find out a method where we will be able to understand the price sensitivity of the end user. If we are able to define these two elements, business goals understandings and price sensitivity in a contextualized manner, we'll come back to that later on, then the price is just an outcome of the accumulation of these two elements. That's why we call it target-based pricing, because the price is an output of what is the end consumer price sensitivity and what are your goals. And this is why we call target-based pricing. And the big benefits of this is, of course, sustainable value creation over time, because it's not replicable, it's contextualized, and of course, the reality of today is not the one of tomorrow. So the relevant price for a given objective is not going to be the same today as tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Guillaume. So I think the keyword here is the context, right? So it's gonna trigger my next question. Why is it so important to measure and leverage price elasticity when optimizing price? What's the key elements here? And meanwhile, I'm gonna launch you the first poll question to ask you, amongst those 4 large families of pricing strategy, which one you currently use. Okay, so check at the screen and feel free to answer the poll question. So Guillaume, question number 2.
Yes, sure. So we are not going to make the usual marketing speech saying that price is the most important lever within the marketing mix. But the reason why we believe that this is very important to measure the price elasticity is because applying the relevant price can indeed have a very significant positive short-term impact. However, if we take the contrary of this reflection, having a non-relevant price, which would be driven by having a misinterpretation of what is the price sensitivity of your end consumer, can damage your performance even much more, and even in a much shorter time basis. Okay, so the price sensitivity is very centric in order to be able to create value, as well as be able to make sure that you do not damage your business. What we have been able to observe is, so once we have said that, this means that it is very, very important to measure this price sensitivity in an accurate manner. And this is a challenge, and let's say the big technical challenge that everybody has, which is how to measure accurately the price change impact within all of the relevant KPIs that you have in your PM. Okay. So what we have been observing, and we will be back to that in a minute, is that experimentation sounds to us as the most accurate method in order to achieve this ambition of accurate price measurement. Indeed, why is it so important to measure it in an accurate manner? Because there is a very high volatility within the evolution of the price sensitivity of the consumer. A very good example is what Jérôme is about to display on this chart. Here we are of course taking one extreme where we are showing you the evolution on the same category of business of the price sensitivity for end consumer between one moment of time and another moment of time. There is a context change that happens to be called the COVID, okay, where this price sensitivity has completely changed for the end consumer. Indeed, there are a long list of categories during this type of event where the demand has peaked significantly. Okay, we can, you all know it. Okay, toilet paper, video games, work-related IT, etc., etc. Okay, long list. However, it's not because the demand has increased everywhere that the price sensitivity has moved in the same direction for every single category. So what we have been able to observe with this quite extreme example is how much the machine is able to measure accurately the change of elasticity in a separate way versus the change of demand. And this is particularly important to assess because, of course, the pricing that you are going to apply to a category that did not change its elasticity, but did change and increase, did observe a significant increase in demand, is not going to be at all the same as another category which faced a significant increase of demand as well as a big change in its elasticity for the end consumer. So indeed, the context is absolutely key. And what we call context is basically the accumulation of all the events that can be internal events or external events. All of these elements are affecting the end consumer. The COVID-19 is, for example, a very big example of an external event. Of course, competitive positioning is another example of external event. But you do have plenty of internal events, change of inventory, change of user experience being in store or in your channel, change of marketing channel, marketing traffic acquisition strategy. You have plenty of examples that are affecting your end consumer. Hence, it's absolutely critical to measure this elasticity in a contextualized manner. What we've been able
and Guillaume, sorry to interrupt, but often some customers tell us, yeah, but I don't understand. They want to know why. Was this triggered by weather? Was this change of elasticity triggered by an event or a competitor? At the end, I think we can say we don't really care. What we care about is like being able to see that there is a shift in demand and understand, how to react to this, understanding and leveraging the price elasticity, right?
Yes, indeed. That's exactly the position we take, which is we are going to focus on knowing in an accurate manner what is the price sensitivity at the given moment of time. This is our challenge. This elasticity is driven by a multitude of factors, being external or internal, and we believe it's almost an impossible challenge to solve, to know exactly the weight of every single factors. And the reason why we go into this battle, we don't go into this battle of finding out what is the weight of each single factor, is because first, it's a very fragile conclusion. And second, we focus on one single thing, which is deliver a positive business impact to our customer. And knowing that it's due to this external event that is named a concert, this external event that is named a pandemic, this external event that is named a competitive positioning, etc., is this, except serving the intellectual interest, it's not going to serve the big benefit that we're looking after, being business impact. So no, we do not look after and spend time on defining what is the weight of each event. We spend a lot of time and effort in being able to define what is the accurate, contextualized price elasticity.
So speaking about impact, about impact, maybe we can discuss a bit and share the results what we see in our application from our customer, right?
Yes, absolutely. A big principle we have is transparency. So the way we measure the value creation is absolutely transparent with all of our customers. And what we are claiming today is an average of value creation performance that we have been able to achieve with our customers. So plus 5% in profit and plus 7% in turnover. This is based on an experimental methodology that aims to compare apples with apples, and with all of our customers, we have a transparent methodology. So not only this is an average that we have achieved, but also what we can demonstrate to you is what has been the performance when there was a change of context that was really, really drastic, and indeed we are speaking about the pandemic. Here we have been able to see the level of acceleration of value creation that you can see on the slide. And why so? Because the machine is adapting itself to the context in a much faster way than the human. That's because the machine is able to learn that the price sensitivity of the end consumer has changed on certain category, not on some others, in certain level in some categories, in a much lower level in some others, and thus the price adjustments are being applied in a much faster way to the reality of the customer context. So this is why, again, we make the link with the introduction slide where we're comparing the different strategies. This approach, target-based pricing strategy, is really focused on what is the end consumer behavior according to its own context.
So at the end, when we see a price elasticity curve shifting, for us, it's a business opportunity. It translates in this is a business opportunity that we can leverage. And I think the other important point you have to keep in mind, I think it's whether you use a tool or not, but when you implement pricing strategy and price changes, I think it's very important for you guys to measure the impact and the isolated impact of this. There are multiple factors that can impact your pricing strategy, but at the end, you want to know if it works or not. And we often see customers changing their prices, etc., not measuring really in a tangible manner, in a solid way, if it has brought really value or not. And I think it's a key point that you guys need to solve when you are changing and optimizing your price. So Guillaume, I think we now understood why it's important to measure price sensitivity, and it's because it's changing and shifting a lot over time. What are the different methods to be able to measure this pricing elasticity? There are like three main approaches.
Yeah. Again, we try to simplify a complex picture, and we believe there are three high-level methods that can be put in place. The first one, the most famous one, and the most simplistic one is the one that we call historic-based. So this consists in saying, okay, I'm going to observe my performance before a pricing change, and I'm going to observe my performance after a pricing change. And I'm going to allocate the change of performance between on the before versus after. The big drawbacks, of course, of this method is indeed the lack of consideration of the contextualization, which is very important because there are plenty of events that have changed. There is seasonal effect, and etc., etc. So the major drawback of this approach is the inability to measure in an accurate manner the weight of the price change within the performance variation. So it has the benefits of being extremely simple, of being very transparent, of being very fast to implement, but it has the drawback of not being able at all to measure the price change in a very accurate and granular manner. The second method is the one that we call prediction-based or forecasting-based. So here it consists in collecting a very large amount of data, of historic data, and historic data in terms of P&L related information, demand, volume, revenue, profit, and so on, and collecting as well external and internal events, weather, competition, you name it. Okay. And here it consists in defining an algorithm that is going to allocate a weight of what is the level of impact of this type of events within the performance. And thus the objective of the algorithm is to isolate the impact of these events, being internal or external, and end up with a price impact that is isolated from all of these events. Okay. So the ambition is to develop to do something that is to measure an accurate price sensitivity with this measurement. However, it is extremely difficult or impossible to achieve such ambition because of two reasons. One, the quantity of external or internal events that are impacting the end consumer are endless. So it's almost impossible to collect all of these events information because there are plenty of events that are really affecting the end consumer. The second element why it's very challenging to make this approach accurate is because you have to take assumptions. At one point of time, the algorithms are taking assumptions on what is the weight of the competition change on yourself. Okay. Last point on this is that you have a difficulty to understand the price sensitivity measurement because it's an accumulation of plenty of factors to which you gave a different weight, and thus this approach is not really checking the box of the white box. It has a big benefit, which is if you are able to measure this price sensitivity in a forecasting manner, then you can optimize your entire business. But you understood that once again, this method does not cover one or the most important criteria according to us, which is being able to measure in an accurate manner the price sensitivity. So there is another approach, which is one that is used, by the way, by most of the big players that you know in pricing or not, Airbnb, Netflix, Amazon, and so on, which is the experimental approach. It consists basically in exposing a group of tests to a price change and exposing another group not exposing another group that we call a control group to a price change, and then observe the difference of performance. The big benefits of this is that you are measuring the performance of the price change in exactly the same context, same seasonality, etc., etc. So you are able to really assess in an accurate way the difference of price change impact. And this is really leading us to solving the biggest challenge we were saying at the beginning. It's very transparent also because you can clearly understand what has been the performance of the group that was not exposed to a price change and the group that was exposed to a price change. What is the drawback? We always like to highlight the drawback of each method, and this is indeed, you understood, the method that we chose at PricingUp for accuracy purpose. The drawback of this is that you can never have 100% of your business that is being optimized. Of course, because you need to constantly learn. And so you do need to have a control group, whatever the definition of the control group. And also you do need to constantly test price change that are not optimized in order to constantly learn if the given context of the given moment has changed the consumer. And thus you constantly need to know this price sensitivity curve that is going to be always contextualized. So once again, we are going for this approach experimental, because we value the fact that this is the method that is checking the most important criteria to us, which is being able to measure in an accurate manner the price sensitivity of the end consumer, which is going to serve the rest of the approach.
Okay, thanks, Guillaume. So I have no luck with my poll questions because nobody wants to answer them. To be honest, it's the first time. So just saying again, I've channeled 2 poll questions on the right screen. If you want to answer them, feel free. It's like anonymous, don't worry. And also, I have my first question. We answered all the questions at the end in the Q&A session. So sorry to have interrupted, Guillaume. So once you have said that, what are the big challenges that you see when measuring price sensitivity? Because at the end, it's quite complex, right? And it's quite complex. And even though, so from time to time, we have customers that do experiments and that do price changes and do multivariate testing or price changes. And sometimes they have very unclear answer, or it's hard for them to interpret the results of those answers, and we are auditing those approaches. We are auditing their price sensitivity test, and we see that they don't have a very strong and very rigorous methodological approach. And if you don't have that, then it's not going to work. So what are the big challenges and how to overcome them? Guillaume, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So the first challenge we have is to learn fast. And this is a big challenge because we say that we need to learn in an accurate manner. And so be able to learn fast is a big challenge. Why do we need to learn fast? Because we need to test constantly different price levels that we know are not optimal. So of course we cannot expose a non-optimal price during a large amount of time or on a large portion of traffic or large portion of the inventory of our customer. So this is a big challenge that we need to solve, which is being able to learn fast this price sensitivity, meaning the price change impact on all the KPIs of your business. Second is we need to make sure that we consider this famous context, the seasonal effect, all of the elements that are affecting the context, internal and external events. And so to do so, this means we need to make sure that we define very well our control group that needs to be representative to the test group. This is the second challenge. Third challenge is be confident. We need to make sure that we are not establishing false positive. So we need to make sure that we define what we call an error range, meaning being able to know how much of this conclusion is part of the probability of error or not. This is very important in order to not achieve with a conclusion that will be a false positive and that will lead us to deliver a certain price that we would believe would be relevant, whereas it will not be, because otherwise we will fall into the traps that we mentioned at the beginning of this discussion, which would be deliver a really relevant price can damage your business as much as a relevant price can impact positively your business. So the fourth one is being able to fit with your P&L ambitions. Of course, the classic, or let's say the academical definition of elasticity is the correlation between price change and demand change or volume change. But of course, we are trying to be as operational and as business-driven as possible. And we do know that all of our customers do not have a single objective of volume or demand. You do have objectives of demand, volume, gross revenue, profit, net profit, up to EBITDA sometimes. You also have constraints of unit margin rate, or in absolute, and so on. So our ambition is to find out what is the price change correlation with all of the relevant KPIs within your P&L, and sometimes even out of your P&L. If you do have objectives that are not P&L driven, such as customer repeat rates, such as customer satisfaction, and so on, then we are looking after how can we quantify these qualitative KPIs into a quantified one, such as an NPS, for example. And thus we are looking after the correlation between price change and these ones. The fourth challenge that we are trying to overcome is being able to leverage and consider your strategic and your operational constraints. We'll come back to that regarding, for example, the dynamism. The dynamism is just one way to achieve the relevant price or not. We are not doing dynamism for the sake of doing dynamism. There are plenty of customers for which we do deliver target-based pricing, and we are not that dynamic, because if the end consumer is not really reacting well to this, we are not going to do so. What we care about is, once again, business impact. And to achieve the business impact, we need to make sure that our recommendations are fitting the operational constraints. So if you do have operational constraints related to, I don't know, price change frequency, or related to price variation from one day to another, or you could have a price change between one store and another, etc., etc. We are collecting this information, and our ambition is to deliver the relevant price fitting with your P&L ambitions, as well as fitting with your own operational constraints. And of course, the last one is to make sure that we can deliver you an automation that is fitting your demand. We are offering different types of automation, but what we really care about is that you have the sense of control. Even if you go for the full automation, you do have the feeling that you are in control by offering you some approbation rules, some conditional approbation, in order to make sure that you have this feeling of control while benefiting from the automation benefits of our approach.
Great, thanks, Guillaume. I think now it's time to be a bit hands-on and to understand how we can apply this. And how can we leverage this price sensitivity to optimize price? And there are like basically two options and two scenarios that we can implement.
Yes, indeed. We are one of the first operational constraints that we are hearing from our customer is, I understand the value of experimentation, but I cannot do so. Technically, operationally, I do not have experimentation capability. Okay. Then we are willing to offer the capability to understand the premises of the elasticity, leveraging the historic data. So here, indeed, in such situation, we are offering to our customer capability to try to understand the historical elasticity, knowing the drawbacks that we mentioned before, and then offering to the user the capability to define business rules via our rule-based pricing engine within our approach, where he would be able to define his own business rules, leveraging all of the classic, let's say, references: competition, supplier recommended price, reference price, etc., etc., as well as grouping his products into clusters of elasticity that we were able to identify thanks to the historical. Basically, we try to acknowledge the operational constraints of our customer, which is no experimentation capability, but still make him benefiting from the big and the high level understanding of the different elasticity that exists within his cluster of consumer or cluster of inventory groups. By giving these high level pictures, we are then driving him to a tool which is what we call rule-based pricing, where he can leverage his own day-to-day business rules, as well as leverage the high-level understanding of the difference of cluster elasticity that we were able to observe historically.
Okay, so this we will demonstrate very concretely, because it takes a bit of time and we're already a bit late. We'll demonstrate concretely how do we do that in our application in a webinar in September. But we were going to demonstrate right now the second scenario, okay, the second option. How do you do it, like directly on the go using our application? And now Guillaume is going to do a little demo of our target-based pricing module.
Can you see my screen, guys?
Yeah.
Cool. For just showing you a quick demo of our website, of our app. If I do just a quick tour, a 1-minute tour, in our app, we are offering capability to manage the performance from a trading perspective. So we do have a menu that we call trading management. This is a reporting menu where you can always see your performance from the macro level to the most granular level. And so you can see it at product level, at category level, at overall level. You have plenty of graphs that are available, and you can also see your performance, what we call at portfolio level, a portfolio being a group of products for which you are defining a given pricing strategy. And in this group, this is the place where you can start to see your elasticity curves that is always contextualized, meaning that there is no time series application to this because we are always caring again to deliver you the contextualized elasticity, and we are also delivering on this type of reporting the segmentation of this elasticity. Once again, I will not have the time to go through all the details of the chart, but this is to illustrate you that we are very transparent on our measurement of what is the contextualized price elasticity for your end consumer, as well as the way we are segmenting your end consumer given the operational capabilities that you gave us. The second menu we have is the price recommendation, where we are going to deliver you price recommendation at the frequency you decide, and we are going to give it to you on a per product basis, meaning that you'll be able really to see the recommendation that we are giving to you. Whatever is the level of automation you have decided, being manual, being fully automated, you will always have the access to the recommendation that we are giving on a per product basis. We have a menu that we call portfolio management. This is a menu where you can create your own portfolio, and you can create by creating your portfolio. We mean that you have different steps to follow. Portfolio definition being what is the scope of product and the scope of channels on which I'm willing to apply a given strategy. So you would have your inventory tree. You would be able to define to include or exclude some products, etc. Then we would learn. Then once we have been able to achieve a certain level of learning of the elasticity, you would reach the step number 3 that we call business goals and simulation. And this is the moment where you would really position yourself into a trader. We would really ask you to position yourself and tell us what is the performance what is the KPIs that you are willing to maximize or to protect. And we would give you also the possibility to tell us what are the KPIs that you are willing to protect, and if there is any specific constraint in terms of unit margin. We'll be able to show you different scenario construction. You will be able to really position yourself as a trader, comparing, okay, if I want to maximize that KPI with that constraints, it's likely that I will achieve this performance, and so on. All of this being based on experimentation, not being based on forecast of what is going to be my elasticity tomorrow, because the weather is going to be this one, and there will be this concert, there will be this soccer game, and so on. No, we are not in this category. Purely based on real experimentation. And of course, you will then decide to activate your optimization, and you will receive your daily recommendation or recommendation at the frequency that you have told us that is acceptable for you. We have also other menus such as price alerts, where you are able to ask us different conditions under which you are willing to be alerted, and we are offering you the capability to define on-demand constraints, on-demand settings, such as my minimum maximum selling price, SKU exclusion, what are the competitors that I should care about or not, and so on and so on. So in a nutshell, this is the application we have, and as you can see, our target-based pricing approach is offering you full flexibility in your business goals achievements, as business goals definition and constraints definition, as well as full flexibility into what are the products that you are willing to include or not. And we are trying to be as transparent as we can in both the performance measurements as well as our understanding of the elasticity.
Okay, thanks a lot, Guillaume. That was really a sharp and quick demo. Now I'm going to take the hand and go back to the presentation. So where's my presentation? Here it is. Do you see it, guys? Yeah. So this was a demonstration on how you can leverage price elasticity and leverage PricingUp in order to optimize your price using price elasticity and defining a goal, and the algorithm is going to work in a very transparent manner to try to push through price optimization. So now, Guillaume, there's a kind of elephant in the room here. So we've been super, customer centric, discussing about elasticity. But what about the competition, right? We've said it's a key component, and we can't just obliterate it, saying that customer must be put at the center, blah blah blah. The reality is like we need to take into account competition. How do we do that?
So we definitely do that. And by saying that we are caring about the context, we are saying that we are caring about the competition. Again, the context is for us accumulation of the internal and external events. And so we are taking care about the competition because it is one of the components of the external event. What we believe in the value of our approach is that we are going to give a lot of weight on the competition only when it's relevant, by focusing on what is the impact of the change of context. If competition price change has a significant impact on your business, then by default, we are going to have a significant consideration of the competition on your price sensitivity. However, there are definitely some businesses where the competitiveness change does not drive to a performance change on your own business. And so why should you have a significant price change on your side if competition price change does not drive any impact on yourself. So really the answer is we are considering it via the consideration of the context, and we try to consider it only when it's relevant for yourself. Again, looking after what is your business need. That being said, we are also offering you the capability to define what can be called price corridors, which is the capability to tell us this is the interval of prices that I'm willing you to play on, and these intervals can be defined based on your price competitiveness. So you can definitely tell us to leverage the price elasticity within an interval that is itself defined according to price competitiveness. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And also we have a third way to do it. We use actually competitive price changes in the rule-based engine that we also offer in the application. So you can make a decision based on different criteria, whether you want to optimize using a rule-based approach or a target-based / consumer-centric approach. But this, we'll discuss it in September in a dedicated webinar, right? So I think, Guillaume, it's time to wrap up. So what are the key learnings and the key messages you want to push to the attendance today?
Well, I think the first one, you understood it. We believe there is a significant reward to an accurate price sensitivity measurement. And accurate, we mean accurate and contextualized. So this is really a strong message for us, because we believe this is really important to make sure that you do not rely on an irrelevant price sensitivity, as it will drive you to have a negative impact on your business. The last message we have is we believe the elasticity measurement is really something that is understandable and that is actionable for everyone. This word elasticity is a bit of a buzzword that sounds complex, but it's really something simple. Right? Once again, it is price change driving performance change, whatever is the KPI. And we believe you can make it actionable, whatever are your operational capabilities. Meaning that if you do not have any experimentation capabilities for whatever reasons, these reasons could be pure operational or strategic, you can still start to leverage this price sensitivity that is highly impactful just by understanding at a macro level the different clusters of elasticity you have, looking at your historic data, and then play with a rule-based pricing approach that will leverage both your classic business knowledge as well as this high-level clusterization. And you can, if you do have experimentation capabilities, then we can fall into two different scenarios where you are willing to optimize it on a constant basis. Then we will be able to do a constant optimization via the experimentation, constantly learning. But you can also do what we call a regular optimization, which would consist in being able to define what is the price sensitivity of your end consumer on a regular basis. Example, every 6 months, every 3 months, whatever, and end up with a fair grid that is optimal according to this context. So once again, to conclude, very high reward to an accurate measurement, and second, the elasticity is something that is actionable for everyone.
Thank you, Guillaume. So we're going to jump into the Q&A session. We already have some questions. And the first question actually is totally linked to what you just said. Well, it's quite linked to what you just said. It is from Pierre. Can I define my price list, which I want to be rather static, using price elasticity? Okay, so if I translate, I think it means that, can I use price elasticity and then just do one price recommendation and set the prices, and then do another iteration like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or a quarter after? I think this is what it means.
Yeah, the simple answer is yes. This is exactly why we try to distinguish what we can call regular optimization or constant optimization. Regular optimization will consist in finding out what is the price sensitivity at a given moment. And we know that one of the operational constraints you have is, I want to be static on my price. So we are going to look after what is the optimization. We are going to end up by knowing we are going to look after the price sensitivity. We are going to put you in a position where we will ask you, what are your business goals? What are your constraints? Part of it will be static price. And we are going to issue an optimal fair grid on a per product or per service, whatever you are trying to optimize. So this is one way. Even in the constant optimization, if you say, I'm willing to do constant optimization, but I'm not willing to be very dynamic, or I'm willing to have a level of price variation that is very small, we are offering you capability to tell us the level of price variations that you are willing to get or willing to accept. That's what we call the day-over-day variance, or it could be week-over-week, whatever baseline. Then we are going to constantly learn from the contextualized elasticity, and we are going to constantly deliver you price recommendation that will fit your business goals, as well as your constraints of day-over-day or week-over-week price change. So both approach can fit, I think, your static price windows.
And this answers also Charles' question. It says, thank you very much. Does defining your prices according to elasticity imply price dynamism? So the answer is not really. It doesn't imply that you change your prices every day, right? Pure players would do, but you don't have to.
Yeah, correct. So there is one way to answer, which is what we just did. Another way to answer is to say that the dynamism is really not an output for us. It's a bit strange to say that, but we are not very big fan of this word dynamic pricing, because it implies that we are willing to apply a price that is going to be dynamic. We prefer much more the word relevant pricing, because what we are looking after is deliver you every day the recommended price that is going to be the most impactful for you. I'm going to give a small anecdote. With one of our customers that we are working with for past 2 years and a half, okay, we have a certain frequency of price change, because for his business, it makes sense. The elasticity is really different between on the Monday versus the Saturday. Okay. At the end of last August, he contacted me at the end of August saying, Guillaume, there is really something I'm surprised. I'm very happy about my performance in August, about what you delivered. However, I have observed that you have really changed your level of price dynamism. You were doing this type of price change, and you have been doing almost no price change over the course of August. Why did you do so? My answer has been very simple. We are not doing dynamism because it's beautiful, it's fun, or it's because of whatever reasons. We do dynamism only if it serves your business performance impact. And so if our algorithm has identified that there is no need to have a price dynamism because the elasticity is the same across the days, then we are not going to do so.
And frequency can be adapted to your constraints, meaning that if you have decided for whatever reason that you want some kind of stability, then we can provide the stability. Then just that you sees less opportunity. Other question from Simone that was upvoted 4 times is like, do you feed the real-time data from competitors on the same products from their online marketplace, or is competition monitored in a different way? So
we are collecting the competitive data at the frequency that our customer is willing to do so. But the answer is the same for the other source of data, which could be the demand, the trading transaction, and so on. So we are able to collect all of the data sources at the frequency that is relevant for an end consumer. And so, yes, we can collect that information. Scrapping the competitor data is not our core business, so we have partnership in place to do so. Okay, but we can consume this information, same as all the other ones, at the frequency that is relevant for any type of business. And once again, we are going to leverage that in order to achieve the business purpose, which is evaluating what is the price sensitivity of the consumer in a contextualized manner.
Yeah, as Guillaume said, it's not our core business, scrapping. So we either consume the data that you have via your current provider, or we use one of our suppliers to be able to gather this data. Okay, and I think the key thing is not scrapping. Actually, it's the matching point. But this is another discussion. There is a question from Eric. I am unsure how traffic demand is used with price elasticity. What happens when I don't have demand data on my physical shops? So yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, indeed, understood. Basically, the same approach can apply. We are able to. First of all, the rule-based pricing can be applied with the demand or without the demand. It's just another criteria. For the target-based pricing, we are definitely able to assess the price sensitivity without the demand information. The demand we use the demand as an additional factor to understand with accuracy the price sensitivity change. But we can definitely assess what has been the demand change via observing the volume of transactions, the volume of units sold, thanks to the comparison with our control group. Once again, the absence of this information is impacting us much less thanks to the approach, the experimental approach, than if we were in a forecast-based approach, because we are going to compare the two groups, control group and the test group, which are both going to be affected by the evolution of the demand. So if we do not have the demand, by looking at the volume of sales, we would have a very good understanding of what is the evolution of the intention to buy.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Guillaume. So any last questions? So Mattia, I've answered your question in the chat directly. So which are the industries on which you think your algorithm works better? Actually, we have designed our algorithm for the retail and e-commerce, so for a B2C context. We don't do travel, even though we all have a background in travel. We don't do yet travel. If you want to a deeper questioning about that, you reach out to us. We'll explain. So to finish, because we're 10 minutes late, thanks for your time, guys. To finish, I just wanted to mention that we do have a webinar coming in September on the rule-based versus target-based. Which type of optimization can we use when, and how can you play with both, actually? So this is the first information. And don't forget that you will receive a replay of this webinar automatically. If you want to check the other webinars, you can go to the Livestorm platform, and I have put the link here, so you can check and see all the webinars. There are only 2 webinars in English; the rest are in French. But we will do another in September, so it's gonna feed. And if you want to reach us, you can reach Pierre-Louis, our sales, international sales. We can do demo, we can discuss. Feel free to reach out. I hope this was useful, guys. Feedback is always welcome via email. And see you in a bit. Thanks a lot, Guillaume.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you soon.